Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, it's so wonderful to see everybody. 10 years. We've been doing this for 10 years. This is our 10th annual State of the Fight. If you don't know Rachel Nicewander-Thomas from our team, our COO, she came up with this idea. She said 10 years ago, we've got such a wonderful community of tag compliance officers that we ought to bring them together and we ought to just let them network and kind of marinate ideas off of each other. And so we did it. It was a very earnest meeting. We did it over at the IAB. I don't know, we met for maybe 2 hours, had some good conversations, and then we took everybody down to Blue Smoke and we had some drinks. It was the start of something big. Tag was brand new. We weren't quite sure how successful we could be as we took on some of these massive challenges. But when I look around the room now 10 years later, I see a lot of familiar faces. Some of you have been to most of these, and that's fantastic. We have multiple staff members at TAG who have been here for the full 10 years. And to me, that's incredibly gratifying because it means we are a close-knit team. It means we're mission-based. People are continuing to buy into the challenges, but also the solutions that we are putting forth. So today I want to celebrate 10 years. I think that is an important milestone for all of us. But if you're new, I see some new faces, which is wonderful. If this is your first State of the Fight, this is our opportunity to get together every year for one day. TAG is not an events organization, nor do we want to be. Somebody was asking me if we should do these around the world. It's an interesting idea, but at our core, we are a certification body, and we set standards, and we award the companies and acknowledge them for living up to the highest standards. That is what we do. So we want to stay within our lanes, that's for sure. But this is a wonderful opportunity, I think, during a really busy week, advertising week, right? Some of you have been here, you're running around meeting to meeting, maybe you're at the central venue, talking, trying to do business. This is probably unlike any other event you'll be attending this week because we want to get down into the details. We want to have really subject matter discussions, really substantive, digging down, not just the challenges, but what are the solutions? How are we going to build, maybe they're new tools, maybe they're new guidelines. Heck, in this day and age, they may even be new certification programs. And so today, we're gonna just dive into issues across the board that fall within TAG's purview. We're gonna have some fantastic discussions. We're gonna lead off with some true thought leadership from Amazon and the team about device attestation. Device spoofing is probably the greatest challenge to fraud in the CTV space. So how do we actually get into the technology and figure out how to validate a device is actually a consumer device? That'll be a fun discussion. We're going to have an incredible, some insights from some of our partners. I don't want to name everybody because I'll forget folks, but thinking about transparency. If you don't have transparency, if you don't have underlying things like log level data, then you can't have true supply path optimization. So folks like Chris Kane, Chris and I had a great fireside chat last year. Those challenges continue unabated, not unabated because we are making improvements, but they are still huge challenges. We're going to look at a real world case study where our own David Liu was actually the victim, potential victim, target, I guess is the right term, of a malware attack. And we know that this is increasing. You look at the sophistication of these attacks, especially with AI. So we want to really dig into what happened and what we can do. We've been talking about keyword block lists for years and the negative impact they have on reach and scale for marketers, but also the devastating impact they have on publishers, especially news. So we're going to continue that fight because we never kind of solve a problem. We never solve a challenge 100% because the threat actors are always evolving. So we have to continue to evolve, potentially even have a revolution in our kind of actions. So that's what we're going to be focusing on there. Some other great sessions. Oh, yeah, how could I forget about the piracy? We have these incredible new partnerships. Entertainment Software Alliance, Motion Picture Association, Jules Kendrick from our UK office is going to walk us through that. We're going to hear about how we can demonetize the piracy of especially live streaming content. I mean, that is the most valuable content these days. And we know that we have really proof of concept that we can stop the ads from being served into these sites. So we're going to explore all of these issues today. And then we're going to look at the bigger challenges as well. I'm really looking forward to having a fireside chat with Andrew Casale, the founder and CEO of Index Exchange. Andrew's been a champion of ours since the very beginning. So that'll be fun to talk about kind of the macro level challenges we face. Because that's what we always talk about here. We talk about the challenges. These are all challenges. They are not insurmountable. And the team at TAG kind of gets sick of me saying, with every challenge, there's an opportunity presented. But I really do believe that. Last year, if you were here, you heard me talk for a really long time. I promised the team, Vanessa, that I wasn't going to talk as long this morning in my opening remarks. But I talked a lot about the political pressures that our industry is facing, especially around brand safety. And we'd probably have a dozen more people in this room today if the word brand safety didn't appear in our agenda. There are people who just cannot engage in that topic. They can do their job in helping to protect brands, but they can't speak publicly about it because of the political liability that's out there. None of that has abated. Those are still massive challenges. We still face the political headwinds of things like brand safety and talking about political speech, political content. So we continue to work on that. We have specific projects. We consider the TAG community, all of you, as a safe place to have these discussions. The state of the fight here today is a safe place to have these discussions. And we have to be a meeting place to talk about these topics because they're not going away. They're incredibly important. If anything, when the ability to sort of speak publicly, shine a light on a challenge, when you don't have that ability, it's all the more important to have the ability to sit down and talk with your community, with your peers, about what the challenges are and how we develop solutions. And that leads us to the newest challenge we face, right? How many people have been to a panel this week on AI, you know? We're not going to sit down and just talk about AI because it's the topic du jour. If we were an events business, we'd have a whole day on AI. We don't do that. But we see things like AI slop is real. Just the proliferation of AI-generated content creates incredible brand safety challenges. It creates a measurement issue, a valuation challenge. Like, is human-created content more valuable than AI-generated content and AI slop? Our hypothesis is yes. We did a whole evolution session about that about a year and a half ago up here in New York. And the answer, especially from the buy side, was yes, human-created content is more valuable. And that helped us launch our HCC, Human Created Content Program. So this is really a feedback loop for us. So I'm gratified that you all are here. I'm gratified that we can get into these issues. You know, one of the things that David's going to talk about in his real-world example is the use of AI for social engineering. The idea that AI can get to know you as an individual so well and can have multiple target vectors, can send you a text with your name, impersonating your boss, you know, asking for gift cards, all these things, and then follow up with a phone call with AI-generated voice and sounds just like the person who they're spoofing. I mean, we see all of this. We see the challenge in AI-generated traffic, botnets, that are trying to defraud us as an industry. We also see great opportunity. We see opportunity to use AI to improve fraud detection, increase brand safety, identify human-created content. So we want to talk a little bit about that because it's really happening in the real world. And then finally, I think the biggest challenge is we really do have, I think, a metaphysical challenge from AI. It is changing the way consumers engage across the world, across all types of media. And if a consumer goes to an AI platform and they search, but they don't go to the source material, i.e. the publishers, and we see this, right? Referral traffic from search engines, referral traffic from social media is down 20, 30, even 40% across the board. That has to have ramifications because marketers will go to where the consumers are. So if consumer engagement is changing fundamentally, it's going to have an impact on our industry. So talking about what that means to tag, what that means to business models. So I'm going to have a little discussion with Andrew Casali about that as well. So that's really the sort of challenges that we face and what we want to do. But that's not new to tag. When I started here, and some of the other folks started here at tag, the storyline was always fraud, invalid traffic is 20, 30, 40% of all traffic to sites, all monetized traffic to sites. I mean, can you think of a bigger existential threat to digital advertising if 30% of that ad spend is waste right off the bat? That's unacceptable. But that was the premise. And I'll tell you a little story before I show you a video here in a minute that highlights a lot of the milestones over the last 10 years. One of the first meetings I was ever in when I got involved in tag, I don't even think I was the CEO yet. I was meeting with a group of publishers, about 30 publishers, leaders, a board, if you will, of a group. And one of the most senior, most respected leaders in our industry from a publisher, a major media company, raised his hand and said, "Mike, this is really easy. We just set a standard and live by it. As long as your site has less than 30% invalid traffic, you get a green light, you're good to go. You get to 31% or more, you get a red light, that's bad." And I thought, holy shit, we're screwed. 30% is not sustainable. Reality is 1% is not acceptable. It may be sustainable, but it's not acceptable. So instead, we set out on a journey to build programs that could continue to squeeze the amount of fraud as low as possible. We always had in our mind, maybe if we could get to 1%, give or take, that's at least negotiable in contracts. It becomes noise almost. 30% is a failed market. So I want to show you this video and then leave you with a couple of concluding thoughts. Our mission has not changed and will not change. We will continue to fight fraud.
Collectively, we are defending the industry, trying to make it a better place.
We care about people. When we bring together a community of powerful individuals, we can change this industry. Thank you. So just a few, as I mentioned, just a few milestones over the years. There has been so much progress and so much work put into this. And what I want to do is thank all of you, your companies, your coworkers, anyone who has invested time, energy, thought leadership, and resources into TAG over the last 10 years. Because it takes all of that underlying work, most of which you never see. Yeah, we're pretty good at putting out press releases. We're pretty good at patting ourselves on the back. We do that because word of mouth is what gets more people involved. But the reality is, 10 years later, instead of talking about, you can do the math, 30% of our industry being lost to fraud. Instead, we are now saving the industry a year, and just in the US and Europe alone, $14 billion that would have been lost just to ad fraud a year, $14 billion. And that's because of all the collective effort that you all put into this, because of all the work that we have done over the last year. And I'm here today to tell you, not just to thank you, but to tell you, we will not shy away from these challenges. There will always be new ones. We're going to continue to be here to raise the bar, and we will meet those challenges over time with your help. So thank you very much for coming today. I'm looking forward to a fantastic day of programming.